Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Um okay, well, welcome to another segment of our remote work series that is on ideas to income. And to because I mean, would you believe it? I've been talking for like 20 minutes and did not hit live. Oh, fun, fun, fun. Um, all right, so before I go in, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Donica Allen. I'm a wife, mom of three. I am a Kingdom ambassador and a business owner of Done For You Virtual Services and the president of Five Talents Co. And today we are going to be, as I mentioned before, talking about ideas to income. And last week we would have went over just the power of an idea, the importance of an idea, right? How an idea blesses you, blesses those connected to you, how an idea can allow you to create value that will bless again, or cause increase in your community, cause increase in your family, position you for prosperity, and also position you to be in alignment with your purpose. So that's the power of an idea. And we went into different examples of finding the idea that you are able to even make an income from. We went into examples of those skill sets that you may have, right? And today we're going to go a little bit deeper into identifying your most marketable skill sets. I'm going to give you practical examples so that you can look at your own and then be able to identify it. And then I'm going to be able to also talk through with you on the marketing of the idea, as well as let's go over here. Just a moment. Trying to get some persons on. Yes, as well as strategies to find high paying opportunities quickly. Right. And we did kind of touch on that last week, but I just want to go deeper into like actual techniques and strategies, right? So let's get started. So we spoke again, or we touched a little bit again last week on some of those most marketable skill sets. And I want to bring to the forefront, because even though this is something that's so popular in social media space, our content creation and all of those things, right? And coaching, consulting, I really still believe that it is such a high skill set, and such a transferable, marketable skill set that even though it seems like what the popular people are doing, it is something to understand the importance of how it can, again, you can use it to create value in your community. You can use it to create value in the space that you're in, and you can use it to be a blessing to yourself, right? So let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to get someone on real quick. Okay. So, and as I mentioned, this may seem like it's super popular, like everybody's doing it. It's very important to just recognize that it is still something that you can do in your unique way that brings value to the market, that is marketable, and that will provide a service to other people. And so I want to use or go through the context of and feel free to comment in the chat, share where you're coming from or where you're tuning in from. But I want to go over two different examples of how I would have taken an idea from idea to income, and identified, and I'll identify how I knew it was going to be a marketable skill set, right? Before I do that, I actually want to take a moment to look at what the word marketable means, because I have two concepts in my mind right now. Okay, so it says perfect. This is so perfect. God is so amazing. So the word marketable means able or fit to be sold or marketed in demand. So let's repeat that. The word marketable means able or fit to be sold or marketed in demand. And that's literally under in demand. It says marketable skills. Now, when I give you these examples, I'm going to again go over
This meeting is being recorded.
where the skill sets come from, but I just really want you to pay attention. Okay, not sure what's going on with this technology today. But I want you to pay attention again, because you will need to listen to your own experiences, think about your own experiences, pull those skill sets from your own experiences, and then be able to see identify what your most marketable skill set is, right? Because that is what will help you to move an idea into income. So the first idea that I want to present to you is an idea I had gotten when I was working. This is probably my third job, and my second like customer service type job. I was a trainer, a customer service trainer. At that point, I would have trained for AT&T, and before that, I would have trained for Amazon. Right. So at that point, training was like a norm for me, right? And so I remember a friend of mine, another trainer, he said to me, hey, you know what I found is what I found is like a really good income opportunity, right? A really good opportunity to make money is if you put your vehicle into a taxi company, or if you allow your vehicle to be used as a taxi, right? No, when he said it, I was pretty much on my way out of that job. I was pretty much on my way to resigning from that job based on a lot of toxic things that had started to happen. Even though I was grateful for the people there and the opportunity, a lot of things were becoming toxic, right? And so I knew that I needed to make preparation to transition out of the job. And so when he gave me the idea, at first I didn't rush to the idea, but I considered it, right? It was something that I was meditating on, because I think I either had just gotten a car, I was about to get a car for myself, right? And so when I heard about this idea, I I didn't reject it immediately. As I said, I thought about it, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. But fast forward to maybe a couple weeks before I officially had to resign, I went into the process of researching to figure out how would it work to be able to actually have a vehicle and use that vehicle to make an income.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
So I went about doing all the research, finding out all the information. And after finding out information, then I went and transitioned into I would have transitioned out of that job, and know I was in the thick of figuring out how to actually make this thing work. I would have tried to put it into a regular taxi service where you would just do multiple routes for the day, pick up multiple people, and make your income that way. Obviously, I was not going to be the driver, and well, not obviously, but I wasn't going to be the driver. I didn't even have a driver's license at the time, but it seemed like a good way of making an income at first. When I recognized that the system to actually what they would call legally licensed or red plates. It was expensive. I had received very poor customer service, misinformation, and so in the transition, I recognized, hey, this is not a very profitable way of making an income, right? The kind of maintenance, it was a good model car, and the roads that it was going to be driven on, they were very bad roads, right? Because it was in a more rural area at that point that I was trying to work this taxi service. My long and short of the story is I recognized it wasn't profitable. Too much money for gas, too much maintenance and repairs would have been required, and even the payout in comparison to how many trips you would have had to make for the day to make back money to also be able to give me money as the person that was driving the car. It just was not a good profitable system. And even the legalities of it got complex. So I pulled it out of that system and I heard about another system, which was a chartered taxi service, right? Would be where you would have a chartered company, people would call into the company, and then they would dispatch to you the directions where the person was, where you should pick them up, and then you would go pick them up, right? And this would not be in a rural area, it would be more in an urban area. It would have made more sense, like in terms of gas maintenance, just even the roads that it was being driven on, they were better roads. And even the price point for one trip would value like maybe 5, 10, maybe that I'll say 5 to 6 trips compared to the previous system, right? So I found that this system would have been making more sense. So again, the same thing, got the information, research, find the right people. In finding the right people, find out how the system works, finding out how the system works, and I started the process to be able to use the system. In doing that, I could, in the meantime, legally operate and have someone drive the car, right? So then I started making a good income because again, the maintenance, the payouts, even to the person that was the driver, it would still give me a good portion of payments, right? So I want you to listen to the skill set. So the skill sets, and maybe I'll just only give this example. So the skill sets were research was a skill set because I did research, interpersonal skill sets of communicating, the skill sets of delegating and hiring because I had to hire these drivers. Even when I did rentals for the car, I had a legal document saying, hey, if you take it at this time, you have to return it at this time. These are the conditions. This is how much you'll pay. So even throughout that process, I would have been making sure that I was using different skill sets, even though I wasn't like intentionally thinking about it. I had garnered these skill sets from the jobs I had worked before, right? So being able to take that idea that my friend gave me to income was simply the knowledge of how to go about finding the best system and finding the best solution, even when it's a completely new and unfamiliar environment, unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar, like everything basically, right? Because I wasn't even a driver, as I said. So even having someone else to tell me, okay, how do you maintain this car, how do you make sure that people are not damaging it, how do you have like making sure that they're checking that after each certain period of driving around, like that each part is still working, how often do I need to change the parts? None of that was information I knew, and I didn't even research it. I simply found somebody who knew the information and trusted their knowledge and applied the knowledge that they gave me. So if you again listen, right, that skill set of being resourceful, of being proactive, of I really want to identify as many as I can. I've been proactive, taking initiative. Even just the entrepreneurial spirit was very present. Even though I didn't think, oh, I was becoming an entrepreneur, I honestly did not think that. Just the way that I already thought of how to handle problems, it presented itself that, I could find a way to figure out whatever it is I needed to do next, even again in an unfamiliar situation, right? And I could figure out how to find the right people to provide me with the information I needed. So literally no, also systems, right? I identified that this was not a very profitable system, the first one, because I could look at the budget and be like, okay, this was too much income. This was too much expenses compared to the income. In the second system, I could identify, okay, the expenses would align to the income. So even with determining which idea to go and use, if you recognize the systems, how much the systems cost, like write down the expenses, write down how much you have to invest in, you will then be able to identify. Okay, thank you for joining us. Just let me know if you can hear me, Mr. Allen.
Good morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I was giving an example of taking the idea from a friend about putting a car into a taxi system and making income. I went through explaining how I took the idea and researched, found the right people, found the right system, and then was able to now make income from that idea, right? Because on this segment, we're talking about what is your most marketable skill set. And marketable means that you can sell it and that there is a demand for it. And I knew that there was always going to be a demand for transportation, right? And there was always going to be a way to sell the service of transporting people back and fro to where they needed to go. So that was an idea that I took, as I said, followed the idea, right, and then moved it into income. Last week we spoke about the power of ideas, and so I wanted to see in that idea the power of what happened, right? In that idea, multiple people would have received income, right? Because no, I would have had a driver, and this driver was being able to was able to now feed his family. I think he had a daughter at the time. No, I would have someone else, like that would be able to help me to maintain it. So there was multiple ways that multiple people would have been blessed by me executing on the idea. So I didn't just get the idea and then just sit on the idea. I actually executed the idea, and that's what brought the income. So if I had gotten the idea from the friend, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but I can't do it, or I don't think it's possible, or I don't know how. Right then and there, I would have cut off all the blessings of from myself and the people that were to be blessed by the idea. I would have just cut it right there, right? So not only would we not have made the income, we would not have been able to either have the impact as well. So that goes again to showing you the power of the idea. I want to give you another example because I just recognize we have a little bit more time. I'll give you another example, right, of another idea. And I want you to see that sometimes your most marketable ideas will come from the people who are around you, right? Because they are telling you that this is in demand. If people are always coming to you for one particular thing, that is telling you that this is something that is in demand, right? So if people are always asking you, how do you fix this item, how do you install this fridge, or install this, I don't know, TV, like whatever ideas people are always coming to you about fixing, or so whatever problems people are always coming to you to solve, that would be a market that's already saying, hey, we want you to sell to us, we want you to provide this service to us. Because if I could do it myself, I wouldn't ask you. Majority of the times, if people could do something themselves, they wouldn't ask you. Or if people could do it themselves and it be convenient to them, they wouldn't ask you, right? Because sometimes you can ask people to do something that is like you know how to do. Like I know how to fold clothes, but the time it takes me, it's not convenient. I can ask someone else to do that, right? And that's something that's in demand. So a marketable skill and a marketable idea must be something that is in demand and must be something that you can sell, right? Those are simply the two criteria for a marketable idea. So going into this second example, I want you to pay attention and try to figure out the different, listen for the different skill sets that I would have used to be able to take this idea from idea to income. So this idea, some moment. While I had the system running with this taxi at the time, right? And I was making some income from that. I had another friend. I was saying to her, no, I'm wondering what should I do, because I didn't feel like I needed to rush into getting another job. Um, Even though I would have mentioned this at some point, right? Having jobs are very important, obviously, to financial freedom, to financial income, but they can't give you true long-term freedom, because majority of the jobs that we have, they literally keep us just making enough to survive. Most jobs make you make enough to just be able to pay for your basic expenses, and that's about it. So there's nothing wrong with paying for your basic expenses, but if you don't have a long-term plan, you're going to stay in a position where that's all you do. You're just paying for 10, 15, 20 years your basic expenses. And you'll find that even though people will have 3, 4 jobs, they will still be just covering their basic expenses, because what a lot of people don't recognize is, in order to, let's say, have this job, you have to pay for gas to go to the job. People don't recognize the expenses that come with the job, right? So they don't recognize that sometimes, okay, I don't know, I didn't mean to go down this trajectory, but let's go there. Right? Sometimes you don't recognize that. Let's say when I was in Jamaica, right? I recognize that even though my income had increased, my expenses had also increased. So my income had increased, but I was now spending 3 hours in traffic to go back and forth to the job, right? So, yes, I was taking the bus, but I was also wasting time. I couldn't do anything else in those 3 hours but stand on the bus, right? And I'm not even exaggerating, because transportation had gotten so bad in that time in Jamaica. Like, you literally could be waiting 2 hours in traffic to get home. And so even though it seemed profitable, I was losing in other ways. Not only was I losing in terms of the paying out all of this money for transportation, because sometimes what I would do is I would pay a charter taxi service similar to the one that I would have had. I would pay them to be able to get where I needed to go faster, because they would drive all the different roads and the back roads and all these things to be able to get you where you need to go. There were times where, because there were different trainings that I would have to do in different locations, then again, that location was more expensive. With the food that was there, was more expensive to have transportation to go there, because I didn't have my own car, right? For myself at that point. And so the money I was spending in expenses just to get to work every month, right? Those were high, and in different points, as I mentioned, increased. Also, something that had increased for me was, no, I was no longer an agent. I was a trainer. You had to up the way you dressed, right? So your appearance needed to be different. You're on a different circle of friends. That's just the truth. So now even what you eat may be different. Like, there are certain expenses that increase when your income sometimes increase, because it just comes with the territory, it comes with the position, it comes with an expectation in the position. So even if you want to remain humble, like you're not being flashy, you're not buying a whole lot of things, right? There's a certain expectations that now come with the position. So a lot of times what people don't recognize is, when you have just, even if you have 2, 3 jobs, if you spend out back in expenses on those jobs, just going to those jobs, maintaining whatever you need to maintain for those jobs, you find yourself still just at the cap of making money for your basic expenses or making money for just, a certain level of expenses. You can't move yourself into a new income bracket, because unless you diversify your income, invest with that money, put that money in something that can give you back more money, like stocks or bonds or real estate, you're gonna again be making this money and it's gonna be capped. So an idea is sometimes a way to break out of an income bracket that you've been stuck in or you've been struggling with, because you could say, keep the job, work on the idea. That's why a lot of people have side hustles, right? Work on the idea, but an idea that makes you greater income, or even half of the income that you're making in your full-time job, your 9 to 5, and that will be able to be something that you can now use to funnel you to get into a different income bracket, right? So going back to this idea, the second idea that I would have gotten from a friend, right? This person, she mentioned to me, hey, like, you're really good with like coaching people, like giving people advice, mentoring people, so maybe you should be a life coach. All right, at the point in time, I didn't know too much about a life coach. It wasn't as popular as it is now. So I was like, okay, let me go ahead, find out all the information about what this would take to like be a life coach. In finding out the information, there was a lot of information. I think it would have been very overwhelming to try to do it by myself. So I said, okay, let me find somebody who's done this already, who's done this here. Let's see how it works. Let's see if it's profitable. Let's see if it's marketable. No, when I'm thinking about these things, I'm not thinking about it as deeply as I'm communicating it now. But because it's just become my skill sets based on my previous job, it just becomes natural for me to do that. If somebody presents an idea to me, I'm going to research it. I'm going to check if it's true. I'm going to check how you go about doing it. So I was doing that same thing. I found out that there was a life coach that she was charging like $20,000 at the time. And to me in Jamaica, that was a lot. I was like, who be paying all this money just like that? Even though I would have been making way more, right? It was still like, who just pays somebody $20,000 just to teach them this, right? I had not been in the space of entrepreneurship or any of those things, so it really seemed new to me. But anyways, Crystal was her name. She ended up coaching me because I ended up going right back to her website and booking that clarity session with her, and she did a workshop with me that taught me how to become a life coach. Again, I want you to listen for the skill sets. During the workshop, she would have taught us many different things on how to market ourselves, how to tell people what we do. And I went right into it, right? I didn't hesitate with the ideas, and I didn't hesitate with the training and the teaching that she had given me. I didn't hesitate. Like, I went immediately into, okay, how do I start to market myself? No, even though I didn't know anything about online world or online space, I decided that I was going to do my best to gain the experience to see how I would really be able to land a client. So I read everything I could on landing a client. I read everything I could on how to create a flyer, how to make the flyer look good, what information to put on the flyer, where can I share the flyer. And that's how I landed my first coaching client. And again, that was simply an idea that someone said, hey, at the time, like my very, very best friend, right? Hey, you're pretty good at this. Why not do this to make an income? And I knew it was something that was in demand, because at the time people were coming to me always asking me these questions about career. So I didn't choose life coaching by just giving people random life advice. I chose a specific skill set that I had garnered knowledge and expertise in, and I could use my training skill set, marketable training skill set, to be able to train these people on how they could increase their income in their career, how they could move and get promoted, how they could land a better, higher paying job. I could use my skill set, how they could move from being an agent to a trainer, because that was something I had done. I could use my skill sets to teach people how to do this. So that was another, again, idea that I'd taken from income by recognizing my most marketable skill set was coaching, consulting, training, which is what this call is, right? It's really a training. So most people, I want to say 80% of people, the easiest, most marketable skill set you have is teaching, coaching, training, consulting someone on something that you have 5, 10, 6 years, 20 years of experience in. If you have even 3 good years of experience in something, let's say you've been a volunteer, you volunteer in all kinds of homeless shelter, pets, vets, like church, you name it. You have a high skill set for volunteerism. You can teach other people how to find the best places to volunteer. You can teach them to teach their kids how to start volunteering. There are so many ways that you can use the skill set you have, find an idea, research that idea, see how viable, how marketable that idea is, and then put it to be sold to someone. Because that's how money really helps us to do. It helps us to either receive a benefit or to give someone else a benefit, right? So if I'm selling this to you, I'm giving you a benefit, right? When you buy the burger, you're receiving the benefit of a good meal, right? If it's the right burger place. But my point is, finding your most marketable skill set, identifying your most marketable skill set can come in multiple ways. It can come from a friend or people who know you telling you, hey, I think this is a great idea. If you love to clean or on your job you've cleaned before, it could be a good idea to start a cleaning company or a cleaning side hustle or clean for other people for greater income. Or if you know how to even children have marketable skill sets, right? Because there's some kids that if you sit them down, they can speak. Speaking is a marketable skill set, and when them done talk, like, you're just like, wow, that's amazing. How did you understand? Like, how did you get that? That's a marketable skill set. That's something that is in demand. That's something they can sell, right? If you have, and again, I want you to recognize that I looked at my experiences. I looked at what my experience or what part of my experience was marketable, that was in demand, that was able to be sold. And that's how I determined what I was going to move into next in my life. So a lot of times when you're looking to transition in your career, you really just need to look at what is my most marketable skill set. Okay, so our time is winding down. Okay. Our time is winding down. So we're going a little bit 2 minutes over. So I want to just finish off this point real quickly. All right. So once you identify the most marketable skill set, right, that you're going to take from idea to income, now you want to find opportunity quickly, right? In those cases, because I went directly to someone who knew what they were doing or someone who had experience in this, then they could point me to where higher paying opportunities are. So if you don't necessarily have a coach or a mentor or somebody that is an expert in this situation or in that career field or whatever you're trying to monetize, then you want to look at, okay, if I am in, let's say, I'm an electrician, right? How do I find high paying opportunities quickly in it, being an electrician? Maybe what you could look at is, okay, if in my job, these are some companies that need high paying need high paying or need electricians. Here's how I would find a high paying opportunity. I would look at other companies in the area, right? I would look at, let's say, other people who may want to become an electrician, right? That may want you to consult with them. And so I would look for people, again, always the first place we talk about as a strategy is looking at referrals, people that are directly around you. And after you look at the people directly around you, then you start to network in those spaces. So maybe they have different meetings for electricians. Maybe they have different like places you have to go get certified, maybe different colleges you could offer to train at a college, right? So that could be a high paying opportunity. So there's multiple ways or strategies to find high paying opportunities, but the first thing you always have to do is to network, is to communicate that you're looking for opportunity. Anytime I'm looking to make income off of an idea, I'm always looking at who do I know that could benefit from this? Who do I know that I could present this to, or who has come to me before and asked me to do this particular thing, and I know that maybe if they can't pay, they know somebody who can, right? So we always look at your network. They say your network is your net worth, and I really believe that's true, because your network, you could have somebody in your network that knows a millionaire, and that millionaire could need an electrician tomorrow. Like, you could have somebody in your network that is a millionaire, but they don't communicate how much money they're making. So you are like, oh, that person could not afford it. So one of the things that you learn in coaching is to never try to judge anybody's pocket. Like, you don't know how much money anybody's making. All you can do is tell them, hey, this is the amount for the service I offer, and they will tell you whether they can pay or not. And sometimes it is not about payment. Sometimes it is about how you position it. If you have a $10,000 offer and you don't even have a website, I'm going to question if I should pay you any money, because you don't have any presence. Just like, if you are coming to a company consistently, like, how do you find out about them, right? Are you only finding out about them through referrals? Then the degree to which you might invest, it may be high, but it may not be as high as if you were referred to them, saw that they had a website with the services, saw that they have a social media presence, saw that they have an email list you could join to find out more about them, saw that they had a LinkedIn, saw that they are doing good things in the community. So like, even the top companies that we often go to, because these companies have so many touch points with us, right? Like McDonald's has these big old signs, right? You hear other people talk about going to McDonald's. You'll hear or see that McDonald's is doing different things in the community. Because you have different touch points, will trust paying these people that money, right? So it's the same thing for when you want to provide a service to someone that is high paying. They have to be able to trust your knowledge, trust your expertise, trust that you have um a foot in the game, right? And so yeah, those are some strategies. Again, networking, looking at like local companies that maybe you can partner with, looking at different opportunities in through referrals, looking at even cold calling different companies, right? So those are some strategies that you can implement to find high paying opportunities. So I want to say, outside of referrals, obviously social media, because that's one of the other things that has helped me to make income, and also being a part of other people's network, right? So there was a network I was a part of, like a coaching community I was a part of, and through that coaching community I mentioned the things that I do as a service, and they referred one of their friends who is basically like a celebrity, well-known person, and then I provided the service to her. And so there's many ways that you can there's platforms like Upwork, because we're talking about remote work, right? There's platforms like Upwork, Flex Jobs, and just even Googling work from home jobs, you'll be able to find so many, or remote jobs, you'll be able to find so many jobs and opportunities, not just jobs, but opportunities that you can take advantage of that will pay you. Because sometimes these are not jobs, they're really like maybe short-term 3-month, 6-month contracts, or they may be like a 12-month project that they pay you $90,000 for the 12 months project, and then they may pay you 3 parts, 4 parts. So there's many ways and strategies to find high paying opportunities quickly, but it all starts from identifying and looking at how you market or amplify your most marketable skill set. So that's it for today's webinar. If you have any questions, please free to comment, or you can feel free to put it in the chat or open your mic if you have any questions. But that is for today's webinar series, where we talked about how you make an idea or move an idea from idea to income. We talked about finding your most marketable skill set, and we talked about strategies to find opportunities quickly. It's been an absolute pleasure. Going to go by 10 minutes. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of these. Stay tuned for the details on the dates on the next one, the next series. We may do these monthly and do other things in between. So yeah, if you have any comments, any questions, feel free to go ahead and share. And then I will be ending in like 2 minutes. Okay, no questions, no comments. Okay, thank you guys so much for being on. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and close out for today. Have yourselves a blessed day.